From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good Friday morning. It's 5 o'clock. Welcome to Montana This Morning. I'm Victoria Hill. Thank you so much for starting your day with us. Our top story this morning, a murder suspect is in critical condition after shooting and killing someone at a Kalispell gym. It's a crime that could have been worse, as a bystander may have prevented a mass shooting. Police say just before 11 a.m. yesterday, the suspect opened fire on employees at Fuel Fitness, killing one of them. A gym goer quickly reacted, grabbed a gun from his vehicle, and exchanged shots with the suspect. Both men were wounded. The manager of the gym says the whole thing started as a disagreement over a gym membership.
Right as he started reaching in, I thought he may have a knife, but he wasn't acting quite like that. So right as he started reaching into his pocket, I ran because I figured he might have a gun.
No names have been released as police continue to investigate. Both the suspect and the citizen who shot him were taken to the hospital. A cross-country search is underway for a 22-year-old woman who went on a road trip with her fiancé and never returned. Gabby Petito is believed to be last seen in Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park. She was on a vacation with her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, and was documenting the entire trip on her phone. But 3 weeks ago, she went silent. Since her disappearance, Laundrie has refused to speak to police and is considered a person of interest. And in yet another twist to this case, investigators say they're not ruling out a connection between Petito's disappearance and the murder of a couple found dead at a Utah campsite last month. One of the women killed was Billings native Kylan Schulte. A prominent lawyer in South Carolina made his first court appearance yesterday. He's accused of a shocking scheme to get life insurance money for his son. CBS's Elise Preston has the details.
Attorney Alec Murdaugh was on the other side of the law in court Thursday, facing accusations of insurance fraud.
You also have the right to a trial by jury.
Earlier this month, the 53-year-old said he was shot in the head while changing a tire on this road in Hampton County, South Carolina. Then police arrested 61-year-old Curtis Smith, accusing him of being part of a plot to get an estimated $10 million in insurance money for Murdaugh's son. Police say Murdaugh hired Smith to kill him.
The only violence he's ever been involved in is this, which was to have himself executed. So he's not a danger to the community. The only person he's a danger to is himself.
But there was other violence in Murdaugh's life that his lawyer says destroyed him when he found his wife Maggie and son Paul shot to death on the family's property in June.
I've been up to it now. It's bad.
Okay. Okay, and are they breathing?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and you said it's your wife and your son?
My wife and my son.
The double murder has not been solved. Murdaugh is also under investigation for allegedly misappropriating his former law firm's funds. His lawyer says his problems were a result of a 20-year-long opioid addiction.
His wife and son were brutally murdered, and that has had an extraordinary effect on him.
Murdaugh will return to an out-of-state rehab facility. The judge set his bond at $20,000. Elise Preston, CBS News.
Murdaugh faces charges of filing a false police report, conspiracy, and making a false statement. Investigators are also looking at the 2018 death of his housekeeper. Now it's time to get a check of weather with Miller here on this Friday.
Morning.
Good morning to you.
It's Friday. What do I get?
The weekend is here.
Come on. You know what I like on Friday.
No.
Yeah.
You do it.
There it is. Okay. How you doing this morning?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah.
Yesterday turned out to be a pretty nice day.
Yeah. Pretty decent, nice and cool. Had that fall feeling going.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we got summertime's not done yet. He's got until Wednesday, and he's going to give us a gut punch tomorrow. We're talking about record heat, possibly. We're going to be warming up today. Surface smoke, not bad this morning. It'll thicken up a little bit later this afternoon. So fair conditions in terms of the air quality. Cooling down out there, a nice chill in the air. 37 right now at the airport. Humidity at 86%. Winds out the southwest at about 6 miles an hour. Let's crunch those numbers. Yesterday we got up to about 64. Our high yesterday we got down to 45. Much cooler this morning. It was a bit windy yesterday. We had a top gust of about 28 miles an hour. We could see it again today. Better chance we're going to see some stronger winds tomorrow. We'll explain all that with the main forecast coming up. No rain yesterday. We can still use some rainfall out there. The good news is the latest drought monitor came out yesterday. There's been no change. So the good news is it hadn't gotten worse. The bad news is it hadn't gotten any better. We're just pretty much staying the same out there. But we do have rain in the forecast, especially as we get into Sunday and Monday. We'll tell you about that coming up. Temperatures this morning in the 30s and 40s. Highs today in the 70s, maybe some 80s, and some record temperatures possible tomorrow.
Oh,
what's that all
will be
about?
Interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, Miller, thank you so much for those updates. I will get on to the news. Back to the news. A large downtown Billings building just went up for sale this week. Q2's David J. finds out what another open space means for that area of town.
Billings Gazette Management announced it's selling this building, 94,000 square feet, $7.865 million. Now, there are some other downtown buildings that are empty, and those who work closely with some of the businesses say those vacancies are in the offices.
We're actively looking for a retailer to fill this space. We'd like to have more retail options.
Mehmet Casey is the Downtown Billings Alliance Development Director. He says there are about 20 vacancies out of hundreds in places for stores and restaurants.
We're seeing a lot of business activity at the street level, at least, especially the smaller spaces.
The company CoStar shows a 24% vacancy for offices in Billings, which is higher than the more than 15% nationwide reported in some online publications.
I represent properties downtown. I've done business downtown, of course. I don't see 30% of the building standing empty. Most certainly not. I will concede the office space was soft in 2020, obviously. I think that, with the remote work, Zoom meetings, et cetera, I think that kind of changed the flavor of the demand here.
Travis Diamond is a realtor and vice president of Berkshire Hathaway Floberg Real Estate. The Gazette will still use this building while Diamond helps with the sale.
One of the aspects of the opportunity there is the size, the footprint of the building. I envision multiple uses, maybe even under the same roof.
It takes a little bit longer for those spaces to fill because, again, it's not that easily customizable space.
While they say there are vacancies in the offices, they remain optimistic.
In my opinion, it's very healthy and positive.
Downtowns are challenged in general, and we're ardently fighting against that here and trying to keep our downtown bustling and viable.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
Thank you, David. Two of the country's medical powers are combining their resources. SCL Health, operators of St. Vincent Healthcare here in Billings, is merging with Intermountain Healthcare. The move creates a huge system which will employ more than 58,000 caregivers and operate over 400 hospitals and clinics in 6 states, but doesn't mean any big changes for St. Vincent Healthcare.
Not really at all. We're retaining our Catholic identity, our name, all of our services and programs will stay intact. The changes will really be benefits. So again, what services aren't we offering that potentially we could, and what more could we do to take us to the next level? That's what this story is all about.
The agreement to merge is set to be signed by the end of this year, with the actual merger then taking place sometime in early 2022. Booster shots against COVID-19 take center stage today. The Food and Drug Administration Committee will examine data to determine if Pfizer's booster should be available to the general population. Moderna's data is still being reviewed. CBS's Ian Lee has more on why the booster's approval for the general public is by no means a slam dunk.
Today, the FDA's Vaccine Advisory Committee is expected to vote on whether to recommend a third dose of the Pfizer vaccine for people 16 and older.
Well, I have an autoimmune condition.
Roy Johnson got his last month when the FDA first approved boosters for the immunocompromised.
So when it was made available, I thought, well, may as well go ahead and get the third shot.
Nearly 2 million Americans have gotten a third dose. A recent Israeli study found the extra shot significantly reduces the risk of severe illness. But in an article published in the medical journal The Lancet, a group of scientists said current evidence does not show a need for widespread use.
The consensus will be at some point, just like we have to get repeat flu vaccines, every year.
Dr. Mo Rezai says regardless of the FDA's decision, it's most important for the unvaccinated to get protected.
Don't get distracted with boosters versus additional doses. It's just go get the vaccine. Go get your first dose. It's not too late.
Idaho is among the several states where the unvaccinated are responsible for soaring hospitalizations.
Our ICUs are not only full, they're overflowing. The vast majority of our patients in our intensive care units are COVID positive, 98% of them are unvaccinated.
Just 53% of adults in Idaho are fully vaccinated, compared to 65% of adults nationwide. Ian Lee, CBS News.
Some patients in Idaho had to be transferred to neighboring Washington state because Idaho hospitals cannot handle the surge. Montana Attorney General Austin Knudsen has joined with 23 other state AGs in a letter to President Biden bashing his new vaccine policy. The attorneys general say they are weighing their legal options. Last week, President Biden announced the Occupational Safety and Health Administration will create a rule requiring businesses with more than 100 employees to issue a vaccine mandate. That would impact more than 80 million workers in the U.S. In the letter, the AGs called the president's rule disastrous and counterproductive. The Biden administration has begun notifying governors and refugee coordinators about how many Afghan evacuees will be resettled in individual states. This comes as a new group made up of former presidents, Afghan Americans, and advocates launched this week to help accelerate resettlement efforts so evacuees can assimilate to life in their new country. CBS's Natalie Brand talked to 2 Afghan Americans about this process and what's needed to help the tens of thousands now arriving in the U.S.
Cities big and small across the country continue to collect donations and prepare to welcome tens of thousands of Afghan evacuees forced to flee their home country, now faced with starting over in a new one.
Me and my husband, we were struggling to find an appropriate job because here our work experience was not counted.
Geeta Faramand Rahimi arrived to the U.S. in 2015 on a special immigrant visa, leaving Afghanistan under Taliban threat.
I was working with the U.S. government that put my life and life of my family in danger. It was a big and hard decision for me to leave Afghanistan, but I didn't have any other choice.
She now works with Refugee Services of Texas and was named to the council of the newly formed Welcome.us, aimed at connecting Americans who want to help with the groups working on the front lines.
Specifically at the bases, there is a need for cultural competency, people there that can speak the language and help them during this time.
Homaira Hosseini, who fled Afghanistan with her family in the 1990s, is now an attorney in the Bay Area and a board chair of the Afghan American Community Organization.
It's going to require commitment both from private and public sectors to ensure that Afghan refugees can successfully weave into the American fabric.
She says longer-term needs will be jobs and affordable housing. But advocates and Afghan Americans want new evacuees to know
we will help you navigate your ways here in U.S.
A growing support network is ready to put them on the right track. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
And here's a quick breakdown of where some of the roughly 37,000 Afghan refugees who arrived in the first phase will be resettled. California is set to receive more than 5,000 refugees. That is the largest number of any state, followed by Texas with more than 4,400, and 75 refugees will come to Montana. Now closer to home, you can blame drought for the closure of boat ramps at Cooney Dam. Water levels are so low there, ramps will have been rendered unstable. Cooney Dam is a man-made reservoir, and the water is owned by farmers who use it to irrigate their fields. This year, they're using more water, and officials with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks say that means no boating until next spring.
This is a little bit unusual this year because of the dryness. There just isn't a lot of snowpack that's left coming into the lake at this time of year. So it usually goes down quite a bit, but this year it's a little bit quicker than we thought, quicker than we would like, and the last of the water is off the lowest part of the last 2 boat ramps.
Cooney is still open to rafts, kayaks, and canoes, and there's no restriction on fishing from the shore. Thank you so much for starting your Friday with us here on Montana This Morning.